if they would have shown how Garlemald was destroyed and then you come into a ruined landscape afterwards, it would have made a lot more sense.
The fist fight with fucking Xenos as a Lalafell. It's wrong. I changed my race because of that. It was absolutely... It's like watching a T-Rex try to punch someone.
That's what you see with all the other Ascians. Like, you know, these really deep stories. And then you just see this guy who literally does not give a fuck.
That's what the entire expansion is about. How do you deal with death and despair? That's it. That's what it's about.
And welcome everyone to another Alith-Cast. We're back. I feel like it's been a month since the last one, so not too shabby. We're getting better. We're getting better at this. But yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone who's in the chat on YouTube. As usual, let's get some thumbs up. Oh, Silver's already in there with a confirmation that the sound is good. We're actually starting to look like professionals. But we're starting to look like we know what we're doing. We're good actors. But yeah, we've got a pretty juicy Alith-Cast plan for today, guys, and of course some FC news to share, as we always do. Let's start off with some introductions. So we've got some familiar faces as usual on the cast. So firstly, Hennek, welcome once again. You're becoming a real regular. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. And as always, happy to be here.
It wouldn't be
got lots to say.
It wouldn't be a job action episode without Hennek on the show. I'm sure everyone will agree. So the tinfoil hat is ready, I'm sure, and armed and ready to go. Indeed. Good stuff. And a returning Alith-Caster. It's been a while, but we are very happy to have Aeron back with us. So welcome back, Aeron. It's been a while.
Thank you. It's good to be back. My second time on the cast, so a lot of you might not recognise me, but Indeed. I've been around for a while. You might recognise my name if you...
Aeron is a veteran Alithian, even if he's not been on the cast that many times. Lots of experience in the game, lots of opinions I'm sure to share, and an avid raider as well. And the microphone's working today, so no tinny vocals from Aeron.
Yeah.
Although the same thing happened to me last cast, Aeron. I had the webcam microphone enabled, so apologies everyone for my tinny appearance last time. Hopefully today it's silky smooth with my Yeti sounding a bit better. But yeah, great to have you back, Aeron, as always.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have you back again soon. And a regular face on Alith-Cast needs no introductions. It's the Bob Meister himself. Bob.
It is I, Bob. I have slept 4 hours. I will fall asleep. That's fine. I'll live.
Adrenaline will carry you, and excitement. It's funny. Before we went live, Bob didn't have the hat on, and I said, Bob, we're gonna get done for false advertising. We're gonna have Ellie on our back saying, outrageous. Where was the hat? I was promised a hat, and there was no hat, but the hat has made an appearance, so we're all good. Cool. All right, should we get stuck in then?
Yeah.
So I think the elephant in the room is, of course, the recent live letter, which revealed, or gave us a first reveal of job actions predominantly. There were a few other announcements that were made in the live letter, which we will touch on at the beginning. And then we're going to just dive into our thoughts, reactions, opinions on the various job reveals that we got for Dawn Trail. It's not going to be super structured, guys, so think of this as a bunch of mates hanging out at the pub, just chatting about FF14. That's going to be the spirit that we're going for. But we're just going to get everyone's opinions and views on, obviously, everyone's personal jobs that they play, but also the other jobs that we saw, and just see what everyone thinks, because, yeah, pretty exciting to see some new stuff for FF14. And it wouldn't be a job action episode if I didn't have the job actions playing in the background. So let's get that up on screen. I'm sure it'll jog people's memories as we dive in. There we go. It will just loop and cycle continuously, giving us all the goodness, and hopefully we can kind of react as we chat about it. So before we dive in, let's just ask the chat who's joined us, what's everyone in the chat's overall opinion on what they saw in the live letter and the job actions? Overall positive, overall meh, overall crappy. What does everyone think? Let's get some opinions in the chat as well while we're chatting, and then we can kind of interact with the audience as well, because it'd be good to hear we've got some positive comments already. Good stuff. So let's start with the miscellaneous updates that we got at the beginning of the live letter then, guys. So obviously the very first thing they did was show the job action trailer, which if anyone's played FF14 for a while, you'll be familiar with the format. They have a character on screen, and they cycle through all the jobs, and they show a few rotations and show a few of the new job actions. They don't always show everything though. They just give you a bit of a sample. And so I guess we'll talk about the job action trailer when we get into the job actions. Then after that, we got our first look at the new login screen for Dawn Trail. So, what did everyone think of the shiny new login screen for FF14 Dawn Trail?
Pretty.
It's very bright.
Yeah.
It was
Coming from the book of death and destruction and despair from Endwalker, we're going right into just sunshine and rainbows.
I did see the meme, the flashbang. Is it Limmy or whatever for that? So,
yeah. Plus the Star Destroyer meme. I'm just it's
the
gonna
Star
be
Destroyer is amazing. I can never not see.
It's a rainbow Star Destroyer for me. That's what it is. It's great.
It's 2 in a row because Endwalker's looked a bit like a Star Destroyer as well. So
yeah. I can't get it out of my head, honestly. Whoever told me about the Star Destroyer, I'm so annoyed now because every time
it's completely ruined. I have no idea what it's supposed to look like.
Right?
It just looks like a Star Destroyer. That's it.
You can't unsee it. So apologies to everyone watching. You will now also only
I've ruined the whole expansion for you guys anyways now as well.
Yeah, we're playing
or improved it.
Yes, Star Wars Dawn Trail Online is the game that we're now playing. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Very, very bright. I remember when it first came up, I was watching live lets. I had Spicy sat next to me, and she just glanced over at my screen and went, "Jesus, what is that?" And I said, "It's just the login screen." It's so bright, yeah. But I like it. I do like the shift away from the dark and gloomy Endwalker and the more kind of vibrant. I like the water at the bottom of the scene with the reflection and all of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
for sure.
Thumbs up from me for the login screen. Might turn the brightness down a bit, but other than that, looks good. And then, so Yoshi P went into a bit of an explanation of sorts around all the DDoS attacks that we've been getting, and he gave an apology. He's always very apologetic when these sorts of things happen, and I think the overall gist of the message was we're aware of it, we're working on it, we've got our IT teams working around the clock trying to resolve it, and he was very apologetic as always. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts were on his acknowledgement of the DDoS marathon that we had.
They acknowledged it, but I don't think I caught any action plan or anything like that. Maybe they didn't go into it. They basically just said, we know it's been a problem, but it's been it's been fine now for a few days in a row, but I don't know what they have actually done. I haven't seen.
I wonder if this has anything to do with the new data centers being added and all that other stuff. But usually, I think if it's something that is maybe a mistake that they made, and getting too much information out there would make it worse. They try to play it close to the chest, so I think they're still working.
The first tinfoil theory.
Yeah.
Square Enix fucked up and is blaming the DDoS.
No, it's just that the DDoS might be easy to do, right? It might be it might be a real vulnerability that they need to fix before Dawn Trail.
It's internal fuck up. It's mad RMTers, and it's the Popoto artist. It's one of those three.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get it sorted.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't go into much detail. He did say that they were working on it. He did say their IT teams are working around the clock working on it, but no specific details about what they're actually doing and how they're going to prevent it moving forward. But all I'll say is at least it happened before Dawn Trail launched, so it's give them some time to figure out what else they can do to protect the servers for when Dawn Trail actually goes live.
And we all DDoSed them anyway.
Yeah, it has been better the last few days, I think. So hopefully they've done something. So fingers crossed. But yeah, so we got that apology and explanation from the big man himself. And then he went into another controversial subject, which was feedback from the community on the character creator that was introduced with the recent benchmark for FF14. And obviously there was some strong feelings about some changes that were noticeable in that character creator. We won't talk about teeth on this show. We are lovers of all teeth, of all shapes and sizes. But he did address the teeth, amongst other things. So Spicy and I were watching it, and I was asking Spicy, do you think people are going to be happy with the revision of the teeth? Is that going to, reassure people enough? So I don't know if you guys caught that or have any much of an opinion on the character changes and his kind of addressing of that he's taken the feedback on board.
I only half saw it.
Yeah.
Is it going into the new benchmark, or are we waiting till release?
They're going to release a second version of the benchmark imminently, and that second version will have some improvement. Well, some improvements, but also they're going to revert some of the changes they made in the first iteration. So I keep talking about teeth, but specifically I think the teeth of the Mikotes in the first version, they had been basically reduced to nearly nothing.
Yeah, it was the canines being kind of normalized. Yeah, exactly. The felines, I suppose.
Did he mention Lalafell?
Yeah, they did show a very horrifying picture of two Lalafells side by side.
I was only half paying attention.
Horrible grins. They definitely touched on Lalafell teeth as well.
Yeah, what he said was apparently the feedback was that the mouths of the Lalafells were really scary because you could literally see their gums.
They were really weird
and everything. And so what they've done in the image that he showed, they've changed it back to just being a black void in their mouth instead of seeing all their gums. And the teeth, you can't see like the individual teeth anymore because they just went too hard on the.
They went too detailed. It got into the uncanny valley instead of looking a little bit video gamey.
Yeah, exactly. So this is very much like a Sonic teeth moment, right? So it's like, yeah,
for sure. There was a bit internet rose up
in the benchmark. There's a bit where your character kind of does a confident smirk, and it just looked really weird on my Lalafell. I look evil. I look really evil right now.
Well, that's what he said. He said everyone was freaked out. Everyone's children were crying because the Lalafells all looked evil.
Okay.
And he said, "Don't worry, we've cartoonified them a bit more again, so you can stop being terrified of Lalafell."
For the cutscenes, I want to look evil. So cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mostly just impressed with how they are responding to it. The fact that they are responding to it in the way they are, and how much time they actually devoted to it during the live letter to address it and to say, look, guys, yes, we are working on it. Look at all these changes that are coming. We heard all your complaints. We heard all your feedbacks, and this is what we're doing about it. Yeah. It's really, really, really impressive to see from a developer.
Agreed, especially with this little time left before Dawn Trail releases.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Because previously, when they've done this sort of thing, they've said, "Look, we've taken your feedback on board, and after we've released the game, we are going to address this and we'll release a patch to fix this." But no, they just went straight in and said, "We're fixing it now before Dawn Trail comes out." So fair enough. Yeah. Cool. So hopefully. Not too many comments in the chat about the character creator stuff, so maybe not too many people annoyed by it, but it'd be interesting to see what everyone thinks about what they're doing to rectify based on the feedback. And then the next thing they talked about, this is another hot topic, is the Fantasia potion change. So for those of you who missed the live letter, the short version is they're basically making it so that after you use a Fantasia potion and change your character, you then have effectively 60 minutes, an hour, to log into the game, play the game, and then if you see something that you don't like, you can go back into the editor and make some more tweaks. You basically have like an hour's grace period, and they said the reason that they were doing it is because there's a lot of feedback that the various environmental and lighting options in the character creator wasn't really sufficient for a lot of players, and when they got in game, they suddenly realized, oh, my character doesn't actually look quite how I thought it looked in the character creator. So it's to give people a chance to play their character with the changes made, and then give them a chance, give them an hour window to go back and make some more changes. So
and it's an hour of in-game time as well. It's not one real life hour. It is
an
hour of play time. So if you log out and leave the game, come back the next day, you still have all the remaining time of play time to fiddle with it.
Yeah,
it's really
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Removes the whole problem of them having to make sure the login screen is a perfect, or the character creator is a perfect recreation of the in-game area, which can be complicated.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it's got to be a welcome change. I can't see anyone saying no, I'm not happy about this. It just gives you better value for that service that you're getting. So a lot of people spend money on those potions. So definitely a positive change.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final kind of miscellaneous update before we dive into the job actions, and this one is actually job action related, is of course the action change settings that they've introduced specifically for combo skills. So the short version, and I'll let you guys dive in, is that they're giving people the option to toggle on or off whether or not you use the same key to activate each skill in a combo. So rather than you having to press 3 separate keybinds to do your 3 different combos, you can have one keybind slot automatically change to the next skill, so you can just keep tapping the same button. I think they did say that's only for those specific combo abilities, but the idea obviously is to help with the kind of amount of slots that people need for their skills.
It's controller players. I think he specifically mentioned that they are already struggling with button space, so it makes sense to consolidate a lot of buttons that.
Yeah,
and that's coming up in when we start talking about it. Like you can't press this one button without first activating this buff, so they're just squeezing those two together on the same button.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I did spend about 2 days trying to map my samurai to a controller just to see if that would work. It took me almost 2 days to find a way to do it that actually made sense in the context of playing the game with it. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Plus, now you get your 1, 2, 3s become your 1s. It's like it's just one
I'm
button.
not sure if it actually. I don't think it goes into specifically changing combo actions. I'm not sure. I don't think they mentioned that specifically, like the 1, 2, 3 combos. It's mostly skills that are reliant on other skills.
Yeah. So then, but I think if they're, I assume they will make it more flexible in future if people like it. But then you will get a situation in which a chain of. That's why I don't get why they didn't call it chain instead of change, because it's a combo chain. So, but
it would cut out kind of. Obviously, this is like only if you care about being better than other people. This becomes a problem, but it cuts out a part of the skill, or it raises the skill floor rather. Because it makes it impossible to fuck up a combo action all of a sudden. So all of your melee DPSs that rely on a 1, 2, 3 combo, or a monk would be probably not possible to do it on. But it
you can say there's branching
streamline
combos
and normalize a lot of weird things for it. So I don't think they are going to do it for combo actions, regular melee GCD combos. But we'll see.
I hope that eventually they will. I hope that they'll expand on it later on, because the way that I see it is the more that they can do of this, it just means they can introduce more skills overall in the future, right? Without needing to have more hotbar space.
Yeah.
So the more they can consolidate combos into one key, the more skills they can introduce to the game in the long run.
Yep.
So
Well, from a design perspective, I think this makes sense because they removed a lot of stuff in Shadowbringers. They simplified a lot of combos.
Yeah.
With that expansion.
And
but also we
go on.
Go ahead. Right. From the looks of what they have shown off, we're not getting many new buttons to press this expansion. It is mostly upgrades to existing things. It is skills that change into other skills when you activate them, or continuations of existing combo finishers or something like that. Yeah. So that may be very well that what they're trying to just make sure that works, that we have that system in place now. So as you say, for the next expansion, then they can start thinking about adding outright new skills because we have more space available again.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll call that out as well, but people might have already picked up on this. I didn't realize, Hennek, what you said about they're not changing the combo action. The 1, 2, 3. They're changing. I was just reviewing the live stream. They're changing specifically changing actions. So
Yes.
I can't think of a good example, actually.
Make
but-
Yoshisui for Samurai
Yeah.
will change into Tsubame-geshi, and for those of you that aren't weebs, it is the button that lets you press your combo finishers to get stickers, and then that will change into the action that lets you actually cast Midare Setsugeka, or whichever one it is.
Yeah.
But it
for example,
won't-
that's one of them.
But it won't be your 1, 2, 3 main attack on like Ninja.
No, I
Dragoon or
don't.
something.
I don't
From the
think-
sounds of it.
so many jobs rely on like a 1, 2, 3, but then you also have a 1, 2, 4, or like Samurai has a 1, 2, 3. They have a 1, 4, 5, and they have a 1, 6. Like you have so many weird
Like a branch.
branching paths in a lot of melee combos. So if they are doing it, they are probably only doing it for like tanks that only have like generic 1, 2, 3s maybe, or I don't know. I don't think they are touching that.
As I say, like looking back at it, is the specific phrasing being changing action. Sounds like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And it's also like the one of the images they show is jump into elusive jump, and elusive jump is a skill you can use whenever. But when you use jump, you can have jump turn into elusive jump. Is the example they have.
Yeah.
So that's one of those situations where it's
whenever you press. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's like whenever you have a skill that you would want to use as a follow up, then that becomes an option. I guess.
Maximize in the chat mentioned Ikishoten turning into Ogenami Kiri, which is something I have been personally hoping for, which is again Samurai weeb stuff, but it's the button that you press, you gain a bunch of gauge, and then that allows you to use another very, very hard hitting move. But it's only Ikishoten that has a cooldown. Ogenami Kiri doesn't have a cooldown, but you can only use it after you have pressed Ikishoten, so it makes no sense to have them on separate buttons as it is right now.
I also really appreciate.
Really, really good.
I really appreciate that they are making an option, because like there was a thing with Gunbreaker where it worked last expansion. I actually personally really liked sort of this back and forth button press, and I think they actually consolidated it a bit, and I don't personally find it as fun now. So either way, you get the best of both worlds. If you like having all the buttons, you can keep them. So I do really appreciate the fact that it's.
It's funny that you mentioned Gunbreaker, because Gunbreaker specifically now will let you have the option of having your entire Gnashing Fang combo and their respective continuation as 6 individual button presses. So if you really want to keyboard your way across and press a lot of buttons, then Gunbreaker will be the job to play.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I thought it was fun when you had to do your little keyboard dance.
Getting the option, and it's an option to toggle per individual skill as well. It's not like draw, yes I want it, or no I don't. You can have it per skill, and that's really, really, really cool. Shows a lot of respect for the player base getting to pick their own preferred playstyle.
Yeah. In case it wasn't obvious by now, guys, I am very much playing facilitator role in this cast, and I'm letting the nerds do the nerding, because certainly I'm always impressed with how you guys can recall the names of skills and the names of buffs, etc. But and I don't play as many jobs as you guys do either. I'm kind of a one trick pony with my white mage. I do play Summon and Paladin. Those are my DPS and tank jobs, but I generally tend to only play them in easier content. But really interesting that they're adding this. I agree that it's great that it's going to be optional for those who want to toggle it on if they can. And I think one of the other points they made was that there may be occasions where you'll start, I guess, what you call a series of combos. You'll cast your first skill, but you might decide that you don't want to cast that second skill in the combo in that scenario that you're in the fight. You may want to cast that first skill again, and so some people want to have that flexibility, right, where you're not locked into, okay, well, I have no choice now but to use that second part of the combo, whether I want to or not. Some players might not want to use that second skill and might want to go back and use the first skill. I'm not an expert in all the jobs, but maybe there's some jobs where that kind of applies. Cool. Well, we will see. We will see soon. Not long to go now. Okay, so let's dive into the job actions themselves then. And yeah, from here out, guys, it's free for all. So I've definitely got opinions on my jobs, but I'm going to hold back for a bit and let you guys get stuck in. I want to hear what the most burning things are that have been on your guys' minds since the live letter came out. What's the thing that shocked you the most? What's the thing that surprised you, impressed you, pissed you off the most from what you saw? Open the floor. Get it all out, guys. This is your opportunity.
Wants to go first?
I'll name Black Mage. I'll name drop the Black Mage right away. Because this is probably the most controversial thing they are doing to any of the jobs. And for those of you who are not in the know, if you don't currently enjoy playing Black Mage, you probably will enjoy it more in Dawntrail. And for those of you that currently enjoy Black Mage, you will probably like it slightly less, is what the change is all about. It's removing a lot of the flexibility, a lot of the quote-unquote wacky shit that Black Mages currently get away with doing that allows them to optimize for a lot of specific encounters or movement heavy phases, or just it opens up the floor currently, and it's as a result of changes that they did going into Shadowbringers and Endwalker, where they were trying to make it less punishing and more allow for like a steady flow. But then obviously players found a way to just completely break that apart, and that opened the door into what is called non-standard Black Mage plays.
What is that? I keep hearing it, or there was like a phrase.
The very, very, very basics of Black Mage. You press ice, and then you press fire, and then you press fire until your mana is empty, and then you go back into ice, and you regen mana over time, then you go back into casting fire, and then you do that all over again. Non-standard involves minimizing the amount of time you spend in ice, because ice is bad, it doesn't do damage. So the way you can like kind of cheat the system a bit by toggling, you transpose into ice using a swift cast or an instant cast. And because of the way ice currently works, in that you gain mana passively over time, it buffs your mana ticks essentially. So
is it kind of to do with knowing when the tick is about to happen, so you can switch into it?
in a way, but not so important for some lines. There are more advanced lines. You can give you the rundown on this later, but there are more advanced lines that do care about that. But like the very, very basics, and I only started dabbling with Black Mage like a few months ago. But basics is basically you swap into ice when you have to cast spells that aren't part of the fire repertoire, because they don't matter, they don't get a damage buff. And then when you have full mana, then you transpose back into fire and continue casting fire spells, having spent only minimal time in ice and not even casting any ice spells sometimes. So just allowed you to do cool shit like that.
Yeah, and then what they're doing now, from reading the review, is
cutting out the passive mana regen gain from being in ice. You will probably, they didn't specify, but you will probably still have your regular mana gain, normal mana ticks, but you won't have these huge chunks of like 3000 MP per tick that makes it so that these non-standard plays work.
You have to cast ice to get your mana back.
Yes.
So you're going to be having a more consistent
Okay. So it'll the way they mention it is that when you cast ice spells, you will gain ice when you are in ice mode, basically, and
you get mana.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. When you cast ice spells when you are in ice phase, you gain mana back, not over time. So that means you will have to cast the ice spells. There's no cheating it. There's no using weird flexy shit.
Until we find something new. But
probably,
they will.
Black Mage Lounge was in shambles when this was announced, and then after everyone had kind of settled down, everyone started, cooking with like, okay, but what if this, but maybe if this, and so they're gonna be fine. Black Mages are gonna be fine, but it's gonna play differently than it does currently.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's gonna just be more accessible for people who want to get into who perhaps weren't before?
Yeah.
That is the big change, I think, that they are making it way more streamlined by the looks of it. So it's going to be more accessible. It's gonna feel more natural, I think, to less experienced players.
Yeah. Plus repositioning ley lines.
That too. But they're gonna kind of force you into this fire, then ice, then fire, then ice, then fire, then ice. Seems like they're going to try to enforce that to a point where you can't really get around it, at least what it looks like right now, which will normalize the rotations quite a bit.
And then the ley lines themselves it ties into the difficulty, because that's one of the things, if you want to be effective, you really need to know the fight and put the ley line exactly where it needs to be, and that's going to become way less demanding.
Yeah,
I do like that that's it's still more optimal to keep your ley lines in one place permanently.
Yeah.
You don't have to move. But I do like the fact that it's not going to punish you,
can
if
move
you
them. Yeah.
suddenly can't access them for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That just sucks.
They're definitely working on making leyline or making black mage a more accessible job. Maybe removing the very, very, very massive skill difference between playing red mage and summoner and then playing black mage, as it is currently. So I think the pipeline is now, the caster pipeline is, you play summoner, you play red mage, then when you get bored of doing like the easy casters, then you start playing black mage, and that's what I think they're trying to steer away from, making black mage a bit more accessible.
Now, it's funny, I've been listening, and we had a conversation a little while ago about Pictomancer and where this is going to fit into the caster grouping. And now that we know a bit more about what they're doing with Black Mage, Hennek, I'm really interested to get your opinion on. Maybe I'm leading us into Picto already, but I am interested. Are we closer to understanding how Picto is going to fit into that prioritization amongst the caster DPS?
I think so. I think it's going to kind of be a similar to Black Mage type of job, but more party buffs. From what it looked like, like you're getting party ley lines, or whatever the community decided to call it. You're dropping this huge circle on the ground, and every ally inside this huge circle gets a buff instead of just a small circle that only you want to be in. I don't remember if they said specifically what the buffs were, but it's going to be damage related, probably.
Because a lot of the fear, I guess, or concern that I was hearing from a lot of people is that nobody's going to play Pictomancer because Black Mage will still always be prioritized over Pictomancer in terms of raw damage output. And so, there was a lot of theories going on.
The playing field looks different now, Black Mage mains.
I mean, team composition is always going to play into it, right? And it might just end up being like the bard of the DPS casters.
It might be that it kind of depends on what their own kit looks like. If Pictos output like equivalent damage to all the other casters, say a summoner or a black mage, but they have party buffs or like different support or utility tools that summoner doesn't have, then it'll fill that niche. It won't have a race that they've already said. So Black Mage and Picto will be the non-ressers, and they have said they're kind of thinking of removing race from Summoner as well.
They did,
In that case, it would be Red Mage is like the support utility caster, Black Mage being the kind of probably still going to be the heavy hitter. I don't think they're going to change that too much. Picto and Summoner will have some sort of overlap, I would assume, but specifically what Picto brings to the table, we haven't seen exactly the full picture yet. We'll have to wait for the media tour.
I didn't see the bit. They did do a little. Yoshi P went on his character run and played around on Picto. I didn't see that part. Did they have any? Was it focused on just damaging? Because they're the dummy.
Mostly on how it plays. Like you kind of like a ninja. Like you have these 3 slots and you load up different drawings. You load up like motifs, I think they called it, and then you draw that motif. And he drew a flaming sledgehammer, and then he channels it or casts it or whatever, and it has a really long cast time. But then you get this flaming hammer spell, and it was a very cool instant cast, free mobility, hard hitting. So it seems a little bit like they may have like some options of what to cast in any given situations, and maybe some are more punishing for movement but better for damage, or vice versa.
Plus it seems like whenever you use one of the stickers that you've loaded, so you have 3 slots to preload stuff, and then you use them, and as you use them they sort of get added to some other bar, and then once you have 3 of those, then you pop the buff. So I'm guessing depending on which order of things you do, you get a different buff or something.
This is the Astro system. They're bringing the Astrodyne system to Pictomancer. You can mark my words. You heard it here first.
So what I took away from it is basically there's 3 types of drawings you can do, right? So there's the weapon drawings, there's the creature drawings, and then there's the landscape drawings. And I noticed that extra buff that you're talking about, Bob, that was only above it was either the weapon or the creature. Definitely not the landscape one. I want to say it was the weapon one. So each time you used a weapon drawing and cast it, it would add a little tick to that to that buff. Once you had 3 of them, you could then execute another ability off the back of that. But it did look like, it was you have.
It was above on the left one. It is, yeah.
the
I think it's a
first one.
creature part. Yeah, it's the creature part.
Could be
So
a
first it's the
creature
the Moogle thing, and then it's the wings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's the order in which you do the creature. So that's probably how they limit the options, right? They just make one category choose the buff. Otherwise, you have like a billion options.
Yeah. So you're playing with your creature combinations, I guess. So each time you do a creature picture, it kind of saves it as, okay, well, that's the creature that you did. And once you've got 3, then you execute another ability. But the landscape and the weapon ones are separate to that. And the landscape ones seem to be more kind of buff party utility.
Yeah, party buffs. That's when he drew this huge circle, and
exactly.
Obviously there was only Yoshi P's character there, but as I understood it, it was going to be like party buff stuff.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, you're probably building up to something, and then like a bigger spender every 1 minute or maybe every 2 minutes or something like that, based on the casts you have done.
Mm-hmm. And outside of the little drawing gauge, you also had this rainbow gauge that was filling up gradually as well.
Yep.
And once that rainbow gauge was filled, again, you could activate certain abilities, but I couldn't really tell which abilities were being unlocked through that rainbow gauge, but that was like a secondary resource that you were filling up. But yeah, so everyone's general thoughts on Pictomancer then? Is it something that you guys are interested in, curious, excited, not really? What's everyone's general feelings about it?
I'm unhappy that it's getting what basically I was hoping Summoner was going to get, with like the mixing different types together to create more powerful effects later down the line or something like that. I was hoping Summoner was going to get something like that. But it looks like it's going to play very fun, but I cannot stand the visuals, so I probably won't touch it much.
I sorry, go on, Aeron.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't have any thoughts on it mechanically. I just want to get in, see it, and play it. But I actually really like the visuals. I think purely because, and obviously this is the divisive thing, they're so different. And I typically play with full effects on for everyone. And everything's sort of the same, and it's really bright and shiny. And then Picto is just so different that I'll be able to actually see it. And personally, I really like the fact that I'll actually be able to pick out the actions because they're so different. So I think it looks really cute.
I think it could be fun.
I did think that when he was doing the demo of how the Picto plays, I did immediately think about what you were saying, Hennek, about the idea of having 6 summons that you can mix and match depending on what you want to do. And I thought this looks a lot like that. And I did think to myself,
yeah, exactly. That's why I said this is the system I wanted for Summoner. It irks me a bit, but it's fine.
So let's talk about Summoner then, because obviously Summoner is your main, Summoner is my alt, so lots of opinions to share there.
No, I have no opinions on Summoner. Summoner stays exactly the same. We're done. We can move on.
Basically, yeah.
A
lot of classes stay the same.
Yeah, from what I saw, we're getting an upgraded Bahamut that looks very cool. It'll be interesting to see if that's just a flat upgrade on the existing Bahamut, or maybe something that you can only do every so often. It's every other Bahamut becomes empowered or whatever. I'm not sure, because he started with Phoenix and then went into Solar Bahamut, which is inverted from the way it is right now. So maybe something happens. It looked like he cast a couple of new spells. I know at least one, which they did confirm, the one that you get access to after pressing Searing Light. But it looked like there were some other casts that looked sort of different. So we'll see if there's more stuff added to it. But it's Summoner. It's gonna stay basically the same. It's going to be probably still doing tons of damage, but be incredibly accessible to everyone. Very low difficulty curve.
The one thing I was hoping for with Summoner, and it was really hard to tell from the little bit that we saw, was if they've done anything with Ifrit as a summon. Because maybe it's just because I'm not at the kind of top, N tier raider, but I've always found obviously the Ifrit cast is a lot slower, and it just kills the
that is the point of it, that it is supposed to be slower, because otherwise if all of them were fast, it would just be completely brain dead. Now it's only sort of. And because of the limitation of the Summoner has in that you have no options. You have these 3, Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, and you are going to use all 3 of them.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick. If you don't use them, you're just not using them, and then you have to do Rune 3 cast instead. So because of that, there's not that much they can do with them to make them more interesting. The only option I saw there was like you mentioned, where maybe either we get more summons to pick from a bigger pool, or that it would somehow change based on the one you cast in separate orders or whatever. But it does not look like we're getting anything like that. So Summoner is going to probably remain as is.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think it's fine. There needs to be one job that's easier to play than most others, and it fills a role, and it's still very, very strong.
Yeah.
And I will still probably play it.
Yeah.
It's a great class to prog in, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I enjoy playing it. It's one of those jobs where even if I haven't played it in 4 months, 5 months, I start playing it again, and you can immediately pick it up again, and because there aren't really rotations in it, you just hit whatever skills are ready, and it's quite a fun and easy job to play. I do think Solar Bahamut looks pretty cool, so I feel like it deserves that's a pretty badass summon.
It is. There was a lot of cooking in the job action thread with because the summon's wings, or the Bahamut's wings, they are the same sword that are in the Heidelin seal whenever you get summoned, and the big move that the Bahamut was casting is the fucking Heidelin seal that it's placing on the ground. It's like, there's a lot of cooking going on with what this all means. So it was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Cool. Any other jobs before I bring up my main that anyone else wants to talk about?
Oh no, let's go to your main.
Yeah.
I have one afterwards, but I'm happy to. I like healers,
I'm super hyped for yours.
Okay, so can I start, right? Because it's my baby, right? White Mage.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is the gap closer. When we saw it, we just immediately. The funny thing is, we watched it the first time, and I didn't notice it the first time, and then I watched it the second time, and I said, "Spicy, was that a gap closer, my White Mage?
Did he fly?
Did he just fly there?
They fly now."
It's so funny because you never think as a White Mage that you need a gap closer because you're obviously a ranged job. But I immediately started thinking about all the fights where that would have been really useful. You know, where you've got to get in, quickly, get out quickly, those kind of mechanics. So I noticed they've given a few jobs gap closers, haven't they? So I don't know if this is like a thing that they're doing now where they want to make the jobs all more mobile. Obviously with the Black Mage, they've given them the movement of the ley lines, so that means they can be a bit more mobile. So I don't know if there's like a common theme of letting those static caster jobs be able to have a bit more movement, but yeah, that was. I
have a theory on that we'll save for later. Why they're doing all of this,
right,
and I have big hopes for it, but we'll save it.
Interesting. We've also got a new skill for White Mage. I can't remember the name of the skill, but what's that instant heal? You guys all know. Is it Tetra something? The
Tetragrammaton is the normal like targeted heal.
It's the instant heal cast that doesn't have any follow up, and it will now have a follow up. But I forgot what the name of the skill is. It's the cheap instant cast that you can use, but I forget the name of it. I
don't remember that.
Blatus, Tetra.
It's off GCD. It's not. Yeah, but I can't
probably Tetra then. That's the skill I never used while leveling White Mage.
The blue one.
Tetragrammaton is the blue one. Yeah,
the blue one is Tetra.
The one I discovered after finishing the game with White Mage.
So they're giving us like a follow-up skill to that, which is cool because
I must have missed that.
Because you can use that outside of your normal rotation, right? So is that called off global cooldown? So you only use it once, and that's it. Then you basically have to still wait for your GCD to renew. So they've got a follow-up now to that where you can then activate that straight afterwards. And I think it's a group heal, but I need to double check.
That would be
I thought it was Presence of Mind, or am I thinking of something else?
That's a different thing. They're adding.
That's a different thing they added, yeah.
They're making it so when you press Presence of Mind, which is the hyper mode when you get very fast, that you're getting 3 casts of a new AoE attack.
That was a damage AoE.
It's going to be just like your 2-minute burst, basically. It already is your 2-minute burst, but it's just going to kind of further exemplify that, I suppose, where you're getting these big flashy hits when you press the 2-minute cooldown.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it's turbo holy fucking.
Well, I'm gonna speak on behalf of all my white mage brethren when I say that this is finally an answer to them screwing over our holy. That's all I'm gonna say, because holy was amazing when it first came out. It was OP. I'll agree, it was OP, but it was our big AOE attack ability, and it just became an AOE stun. If I'm on, for me anyway, it just became an AOE stun. It doesn't really do much damage. So the fact that they're giving us some more AOE damage, very welcome. That I think all the people who've been whining about holy all this time, including me, I think are going to be happy about that.
I don't know about Ast and Scholar, but again with Sage, they're giving that a little bit more. I think they're giving it an AOE dot. They're allowing you to upgrade your OGCD to a dot. So I think
really
that they're probably trying to.
Go ahead.
I think they're probably trying to introduce a little bit more variety, at least in AOE, in the AOE space for healers.
Yeah. I was really wondering if that Eucrasia thing is going to go, because they don't mention that it will be added somewhere in the 90s range. So I wonder is this going to be available at lower levels, maybe? Because you're just running around and pressing that one button. It's the only thing you do.
Yeah.
It's so boring.
Yeah, it may be that it's being introduced earlier, but because it specifically says it will enhance Dyscrasia to enhance your Eucrasian Dyscrasia.
When do you get to that?
It's the same for for all of them, is that right? Because the white mage one, it doesn't specify level.
They haven't specified when. It might be earlier. I would hope it would earlier. More classes need their full experience to come online way earlier than they currently do.
I just call out one thing here. I really, really would like them to give Tetragrammaton that blue instant cast OGCD for white mage at a lower level. Because Astrologian gets a similar thing at level 15. White Mage gets at level 60. So any pre-content...
You get Cure 1 and you get Cure 2 and you will be happy with it. That's all. The White Mage experience before level 60 is
just
all Cure 1 and Cure 2.
I mean, they got Benny, but for full health, but that's like 120 second or 80 second cooldown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm getting some
feedback. No, but it is
definitely...
No, I was going to say, I definitely hope they are adding it as not like a level 100 skill, but it's something that comes online maybe, hopefully as early as level 70, because Ultimates and all that, like T and UCOB, would very much appreciate having a bit more upgraded toolkits available, but we'll see.
I'm getting some feedback that my personal volume is very soft. I don't know if anyone else in the chat's here now. I'm going to turn my mic volume up a bit more, I guess.
Oh.
That's very loud.
Well, now you're loud for us then, but
okay, is that
better?
Everyone will hear Bell.
I've turned it down.
Fine.
Is that better?
No, it's okay. No, you can turn it up. It's fine.
In Discord, you're perfectly fine.
In Discord, you're fine. It's the stream probably only. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Oh, that was too much apparently.
A bit too much.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay, let's try. Yeah. I'm on 75. Let's go up to 82. How about that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you're perfectly fine now.
Cool. Aeron, you mentioned Ast. So I did notice that they've basically tried to remove some of the RNG with Ast, because what they've done is they've made it so that you always get 3 of the exact same cards when you pull them, and then you get to play those cards.
You get a set. You get a set of 3, but it's 3 different cards that all do different things. But it's always the same set of cards that you get.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
You get 3 cards, and then and they are they're different cards, each of them, but they're the same 3 that you get each time, and then you get to play them as and when you want. I think one of them is like heal based, and I can't remember. One is heal based, one is buff based, and
damage mitigation and heal is what I think they specified. And I'm gonna assume it's gonna keep the same theme of like buffing damage and not just that it does damage, which is I hope at least.
Yeah, I think the Lord of Crowns or whatever would stay as damage thing.
That's gonna be a buff. I would think so, yeah.
Because they used, I'm pretty sure they used them all on party. So yeah.
Yeah. The way they in the job trailer, the first time he used it, he got three different cards plus the Lord of Crowns, which is the damaging card that you would sometimes get the damaging card, sometimes get the heal card, and it would fucking suck because you could never rely on a heal, and sometimes you got the heal when you wanted to do damage. It was terrible. But now it seemed like you got the Lord of Crowns in the first set, and you got the Lady of Crowns in the second set. So if that is the way it works, you're going to be able
You
to.
might eat those words, but hopefully
Yeah,
it's
I'm
consistent.
gonna hope it is. I'm gonna hope it is that, because in that case you have a guaranteed AoE heal every 30 seconds, and you have a guaranteed damaging ability every 30 seconds on every 1 minute.
Because
interval.
So I leveled my Ast recently just because I wanted to get it up to 90. And the way it works at the moment, obviously, is that the cards that you get, they're random in terms of which ones you get. And some of them are specifically for like casters and healers. Some are specifically for melee and tanks. And so, well, they have a greater effect for those specific roles. And so if you don't get the card that you want, you can effectively re-roll and hope that you get the card that you do want. And when I was playing it, I just found it really irritating because, if you got the wrong card that wasn't ideally what you wanted, you'd have to re-roll and you may or may not get the one you want, and then you play it. So are we saying that's going?
Completely
wow.
out. That's out.
That's really big then for me,
haven't-
because that's the one thing.
Yeah. No, they haven't said exactly what the cards will do, but the way, like you describe it, some of them were for melee, some of them were for ranges. Right. That seems to be completely gone, at least. And the fishing for specific cards is completely gone. There's no fishing, there's no card RNG. You will always have total knowledge of what cards you will be drawing at any time.
Yeah, that's great.
And yes, Astrodyne is fucking out of here, which is the second part of why the fishing cards was a complete fucking cluster. Yeah.
You were told to celebrate
you both
this.
had
Yeah.
what you described, where you would fish for specific cards because I have a samurai and I have a black mage, so I want to make sure I have a melee card and a range card. Oh no, I drew 2 range cards. Oh, I redraw. Oh shit, I drew another range card. That's terrible. Oh, that's the opener.
I always found it so annoying. I know.
And sometimes you'll be in a duty finder and you'll just get like 2 casters or 2 melees. And
Congratulations, Tank! You're getting
if you
all my
keep
melee
drawing
cards.
the wrong ones, you haven't really got anyone to give it to. Not the optimal person. You give it to yourself as a healer.
Yeah.
You've got 2 melees.
I don't think there should be an element of RNG when it comes to how effective you are at your job. Do you see what I mean? And it feels like it's kind of bordering on that territory where you could, have a really good run or a really bad run.
It was completely based on that. Yeah, it was built completely around. The better you were in Astro, the better you were at mitigating the fact that you got bad RNG. Because you were going to get bad RNG, you had no control over it, and you only had one redraw, and a very, very, very limited amount of time in which even redrawing a card was even useful, because otherwise, the buff window is over. So it doesn't matter that you got the right card, even if you could draw infinite times.
Yeah.
And then you had the extra hassle of then every time you used a card you would get a sticker, a sun moon or a different moon, and that then let you use the Astrodyne buff, which just gave you mana if you had 1 sticker, speed if you had 2, and damage, speed, and mana if you had all 3. And that's gone. That ability is in the trash where it belongs.
But I think Dance's DPS is still pretty RNG.
Which one?
From what I've seen, Dancer. For what I've seen.
Dancer doesn't have DPS. Dancer relies on having a good partner.
Wow. To be fair, they are leaning into the they are leaning more into the Esprit usage, right? So that's definitely tied to just doing skills, having a partner. That's good. But yeah, I do hope they get rid of some of the randomness.
Yeah, Dancer is still heavily proc based, and but the stuff that they added in seemed to be more or less proc based. They're giving you an action to start the fight with standard steps, so you don't have to do 16-second pre-pulls. They're giving you a follow-up to flourish, and like you said, something that consumes the Esprit gauge and can be used after tech step, which are all rigid points in your rotation. They are not based on procs. They are not RNG. So that's
just a flat damage increase if you execute them at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
I really appreciate the not needing that big pre-pull.
Yeah,
yes.
Especially because when you go into a lot of content, people just pull anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So we'll be normalizing 10-second pull timers for everyone, hopefully.
What's your main job, Aeron?
Stage now, really. There's not a lot to say, and personally,
no. You missed one of the Sage changes. You mentioned the AoE thing, but you didn't mention the other.
I actually can't remember off the top of my head.
Party cardia.
Party cardia.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Actually, I have to say. So basically, I really like Sage. I think it works really well right now. And I did not want to see much from the job trailer because I want them to just kind of keep it pretty similar, and that's cool. But it is really in keeping with the whole ethos of the job and how it plays to just throw an extra party buff out. So you keep doing damage just as you were. You keep casting I can't name the attackers, but you keep just attacking the boss.
Doses.
Yes, and then you throw out your party AoE. And you just keep casting doses, and it's going to buff everyone. It just feels really nice, and the synergy is really there. Yeah, the job trailer didn't really look particularly interesting for Sage. I didn't mind that, as I say.
Yeah.
I think it was an upgraded Toxicon or something like that somewhere in the mix. But other than that, it was like you said, it's the same, but just a little bit more flashier and upgraded skills. I can't remember where I saw it. It's not mentioned here in the list that I have with all the changes. Were they buffing Soteria or giving you a second stack of Soteria?
Ooh,
I specifically remember that Soteria being the ability that you press that then buffs your next heal.
That would be nice.
No, it's the one that buffs your cardia, right?
So Soteria is the thing that I think gives you 5 stacks, and the next 5 attacks you do, that your cardia partner gets healed for like how much the game open? It's
so that would
70% more.
Yeah, so that would then pair with the party cardia, where you can put that on the whole party. You can pop Soteria, and then you will heal your whole party way more than you would, but keep doing damage. You can still cast your
right
dose.
now. It's really strong, but it feels kind of inconsistent to me. So having a second stack would be lovely.
There's so few scenarios where you need to heal your main tank a lot, and you never have cardia on anyone but your main tank. And even then, if you have to heal your main tank a lot, you usually have a regen healer there to just Benny him or something like that. Essential dignity. So I think this is a really, really cool add-on for Sage to get this party-wide heal option, and also just doubling the cardio stacks or the Soteria stacks, which I think I read somewhere, but I can't remember it.
And also, I really like that it doesn't feel shoehorned in, because if I'm being personally, my opinion on Astrologian, it feels like a class that has been reworked a few times, and they've shoehorned things in, and things don't really feel to me like they all kind of flow together nicely. Whereas Sage, partly because it's been newly designed pretty recently, this ability is just kind of in keeping with what it's already done.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like they've tried to force something.
Circling slightly back to Astro, though, everything apart from the card system on Astro, I hope, is untouched, because the rest of the Astrologian's kit is amazing. They have a super powerful, super cool kit. It was just the RNG factor and the card management that was terrible, so I hope they keep most of the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's the shortened cooldown of Soteria, not more stacks.
Yeah. It feels like
you is feeding me information on the side here.
It feels like overall what they're doing for Dawn Trail is not radically changing at any of the jobs. And obviously just giving a few upgraded skills and removing some of the annoying parts of jobs, trying to make it more accessible, make jobs a bit more accessible, but not really reinventing the wheel with any of them. That's the general gist that I got. Obviously some of them a bit more radical than others, but overall...
There is
segue
yeah, go ahead.
into Ninja.
Okay, that's not the one I thought you were going for.
Okay,
but let's start.
That's the one I wanted to bring up earlier, because that's like my kind of second job. It's the one I used to make ages ago. Just from the trailer exclusively, wow! I was like, "What's going on here?" Because I'd heard about maybe Dragoon and Astrologian getting some reworks, but Ninja looked so different. I was like, "That's a new ability. That's a new ability. That's a new ability."
Yeah. Hellfrog Large.
Well, yeah, there was the big Hellfrog, which I think was in the benchmark trailer. Well, so that's presumably like level 100. But they've rechanged, so they've gotten rid of the speed buff Houton, which is one of your Mudra casts, and replaced that apparently with an AoE, which is fine. It's kind of like, you could call that quality of life, that you don't have to maintain that, whatever. But then they've got this new sort of kunai, a little dagger gauge that's completely new. There's currently an ability that refreshes your speed Houton, the buff, That's presumably now going to instead give you these kunai stacks. Really short they do, but there were like 2 or 3 abilities I think they showed that's probably going to consume that. So it looks really different to me. I don't know how different will it actually be, but it was kind of a bit of a surprise to me that looked pretty significantly different, potentially.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Like they're just cutting out the annoying Huton management, because you would never drop Huton unless the boss had downtime, because it's a 60-second cooldown and you can just refresh it with your normal GCD combo. You would never drop it unless you were actually just not paying attention.
It's a small thing, but it lets them free up. There's the button. I've got Horizon. It's a button that just refreshes your Huton if you accidentally drop it.
It's just gone now. Yeah, that
you can just get rid of it.
Yeah,
and save some space on the bar. So
yeah, for sure.
That too.
There was a thing about the Huton attack's now going to put you in the hide. I don't quite know how that's going to work.
Change to an AoE attack with grants hidden.
Yeah, so that's going to give you a second option of using trick attack.
If it works in a fight, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean it should if it's the same.
If it's an attack,
we'll see. Or it'll just be a strong AoE option that you will never use in like raid environments, but it would be good in dungeons or something like that. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, definitely think it's a nice change. It doesn't seem like a radical rework, but just quality of life gone way up.
That was my segue based on your comment about there not being necessarily huge changes to jobs. Hennek, did you have one in mind?
Yes, I was gonna mention that they had specified all along for several months. We have known that Dragoon and Astro was getting a rework, and it seems like Dragoon rework is mostly just getting rid of I and a dash and giving you a targeted dash, and you can start the fight in your like buffed up state rather than having to wait for your 2-minute window, and that was pretty much it. And then they showed Monk, and all the Monk players just freaked out because holy shit, Monk now looks amazing. They have done away completely with the staring at your buffs and micromanaging buffs and cycling to do buff management and like do not drop your twin swakes and then you do your demolish and then you blah 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 blah. They've done away with that and instead given you more of like a flow system where if you do this action then it'll buff up the next action and then it'll buff up the next action and then you gain these. You had like a new type of job gauge that gave you stacks or little pips here and there that then got consumed by follow-up actions when you changed form, and it looks like it's getting much more of a focus on like keeping up the flow rather than doing your very rigid cycling between which of your 2 melee combos you were passing through. So I haven't played too much Monk. All I know is I didn't like it too much previously because of this reason, among others, and it looks really cool now.
It's on my to-do list. I'm definitely gonna look that.
Yeah,
check that out. Yeah.
Definitely feels like that was like the major rework of like completely changing how the class plays, and then the Dragoon changes were like quality of life stuff only.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. It didn't really seem like a huge rework to me either.
No, for sure not.
What's your main... This is a trick question. What is your main job these days, Bob? I know you play many games. I always saw you as a samurai, but I don't know what your actual main job is.
I was actually a warrior. That was my main... So I still play warrior, samurai, sage. That's like my trifecta at the moment.
Okay. So should we talk about warrior and samurai then?
Warrior's simple. You just get one more attack, I guess. Yeah. That's basically it. It's just like, just hit him again with your big axe. Okay, whatever.
It was a hammer, wasn't it? At the end, that final...
Something like that, yeah. It's hilarious.
Is it a fell cleave? I can't remember what it's called, that skill.
It's after... after Primal Rend, you get another attack, basically.
Yeah, and you get a follow-up to a fell... When you use 3 fell cleaves or decimates while inner release is active, you get a new follow-up as well.
You get a sticker you can use, like, you did well, here's an extra thing you can do now.
Your dopamine rush.
Yeah, it's basically, I think it's like, but just make sure you get the fell cleaves in the window. You know,
yeah.
Whatever. But I do notice that there's 15-second timers for all kinds of mitigations that are now standardized, right? So that's going to be...
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be important somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
it's
We'll
probably
see.
just
That's
to make it less punishing,
my
but-
little note for later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this because we're already using them now with like, is it 10 seconds now?
It's
Yeah.
10
10 seconds at
yeah.
the moment.
Like
Some of them are
there's already fights where you can time it exactly right to just like overlay with 2 boss attacks. So I guess they might want to like encourage that or something.
And
Yeah.
what about Samurai, Bob? Thoughts?
I'm not really sure. Like they said this to simplify recast management that Tsubame will be changed to be executable after Meikyo. So that I guess that just means you can only do it while the Meikyo timer is active. I don't know, or if it's just a simple
Button
trigger and whenever you
consolidation.
hit it next. Because I don't know, like
You press Meikyo, and then it'll change into Tsubamegeshi after that, because you will never want to double press Meikyo. So the next thing you do after Meikyo will be Tsubamegeshi.
I don't even think it needs to turn into. It's going to be executable after. You can make it turn into with their new system. But right now you can just right now you can just do your combos, get your stickers, and then do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think they want to force people to be more effective by basically making you use it in the burst window.
Yeah, but that's super weird. You already do so many. Like,
I guess you're not going to use the double outside of burst windows.
That's
like,
true. Yeah, that's
how they're.
That's another one of those. What's his face? Paladin got the same thing where you have one action that has a 1 minute cooldown. There are no scenarios where you should ever press that button without your buff being active. So they're just tying them together. Now,
so if you manage to use all of these casts, you'll probably raise the floor DPS level that people are able to.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna force you into, like you said, forcing you into
being more
playing
effective,
a bit more proper. Yeah.
So that's the only one, really.
Yeah. Well, let's stay on the topic of Paladin then, since you brought it, because Paladin is my third job that I play. Again, I'm not an expert, but I played enough that I'm fairly familiar with it. I do like, I know it's a small thing, but I do like them adding the new animations for the atonement follow-ups.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not a new skill, but it does make the job feel less repetitive, a bit more interesting. It's a bit more fun to play. So I actually quite welcome the new animations on those atonements.
Also, they look fucking sick.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. Yeah,
when he just lights his sword on fire and just slashes it straight down, it's so cool.
Absolutely. And I guess the other
Sometimes
big one
you just gotta play to the fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess the only other big one was just that there's a fourth Confitia attack at the end, which I thought wasn't as grandeur as the third one, because it's like it
was kind of weird.
Swords that like appear in the air and they just go.
I think they've kind of the thing is they've kind of hit a wall with certain job animations like that where they've already made it so big and elaborate and grand.
Yeah,
you can't keep going forever, guys.
Yeah. Blade of Valor, the final hit in the current combo, is already a fuck-off sized sword just crashing into the ground. How are you gonna follow that up? No, then you just get these like tiny blades. It looks a little bit weird, like you say.
It does make me wonder what they'll do for jobs in general in future expansions. You literally cannot. Well, I mean, you could, but you can't just keep making them bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger for everything. Like Dragoon has like a new, even bigger jump, even bigger than the purple one they've currently got.
Even higher jump.
Is it Bard and Dancer have like kind of almost like this orbital laser-esque type mega attack? So I'm curious.
Eventually, we're gonna hit the Korean free-to-play MMO levels of flashy animations.
Yeah, it's gonna go all shonen.
It does feel like overall, like they're trying to make the jobs feel and look more like they play faster and they're more flashier. Because obviously that's the criticism that FF14 has gotten over the years, is that it feels sluggish and slow compared to other MMOs. It's never going to be a real-time action MMO. It's never going to be that. So the best that they can do is make the animations quick and flashy, make the skill rotations easy to do really quickly. That's where you get this, these combos, etc. So they're trying to create the illusion of fast, real-time action combat, even though it's not. It's cast bars and so on. So yeah, if it makes it more fun to play, I'm all for it, man. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, otherwise there does no real changes for any of the tanks apart from what we mentioned with like adding some new stuff into existing rotations. Gunbreaker gets a a new set of actions that they can do instead of their normal 1, 2, 3 when they do burst. Dark Knight get some button consolidations, and their shadow, the living shadow, not consuming gauge.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't realize it did. I never realized.
Oops.
Oh, that's bad. But yeah, button consolidation and making the living shadow a little bit more easy to use. Skill upgrades. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward for tanks. Apart from the mitigation increases, making existing mitigations stronger and making reprisal last longer.
I'm kind of glad that they've not re-engineered Paladin, because I enjoy it as it plays. Yeah, exactly. But one job we haven't talked about yet, and we probably should at least touch on it, is the elephant in the room, which is Viper. So we've talked about...
I was just looking at it.
We talked about Pictomonster a bit, but I'm sure everyone wants to know what our opinion is on Viper. I don't play melee jobs very often at all, so I'm going to bow to the melee experts in the room.
Sorry. I will add, because I just got the reminder now. Gunbreaker and Dark Knight dashes no longer do damage, so you don't have to use them in buffs, which will completely free up GCD OGCD slots in your 2-minute bursts or your 1-minute bursts, which both Gunbreaker and Dark Knight struggle with a lot. Where you're like, if you have one of those in your composition, you kind of force the other tank to do the mitigations during burst windows, because you physically cannot press buttons fast enough to also mitigate, or you have to do some weird shit with it. Unfortunately, Warrior and Paladin still has damage on their dashes, which is weird. But at least the 2 busiest tanks are freed up a little bit.
Yeah.
The
crowds are yelling Viper, Viper.
Viper.
Yes.
Can I kick this off? Like, can I kick off Viper with how I'm just looking at the job action video, and I'm just getting some Lineage 2 PTSD from Gladiators, to be honest. Because I didn't expect it to be this much ranged. It's a melee class, but it has ranged a lot. So I think
it's a hybrid, or like
it's a hybrid class. Yeah, so I think it will. I think it'll tend to feel a lot like Red Mage, but as a melee, just going in and out, and doing combos. Yeah.
You are melee, and your reward is that you get to go into range for a
range. Yeah, which is a lot like the Gladiator.
The job gauge looks a bit. It probably isn't, but it looks to me like, at first glance, like a Red Mage thing. You got got different things on each side. It probably doesn't play like it, but it reminded me of it. So at least.
I did not like the job gauge at all. I thought it was way too busy. So you have this little ball that fills up, and underneath the little ball are 5 stickers that also light up. And then you have the twin swords
lightnings,
where the 2 separate parts of the sword, like each side of the sword has 2 segments that can all light up individually, and inside the center of those 2 swords are 3 little things that can also light up individually. It's so much. Holy shit. Yeah. It looks like a complete mess. Probably not going to have to look at it too much, because the way it was designed looked very flowy, but oh my god, it just looked very, very, very cluttered.
From what I saw, am I right in reading it that you effectively are going to have your dual wielding rotations that you go through, and then you'll switch over then to your, what do you call it, your combined weapon mode, and then you go through its rotations, and you're basically going back and forth between the 2.
Yeah, and at some point there's a major burst window that pops a 30-second timer, and you just have to dump all your shit before the 30 seconds run out. Basically.
Yeah, right.
It seems to play a lot like Dancer, in not so much in that you have a bunch of random procs, but you do this move, and then that makes you able to do the follow-up move, and then that makes you do the follow-up move there, but you will have different branches that will lead you into different buffs or different debuffs, or like you have what was like a damage taken buff that you put on the monster, and you have a damage gain buff that you put on yourself, and some speed up buffs, and a bunch of different buffs that you have here or there that do a lot of things.
To be honest, it also feels a bit like Dragoon.
Yeah?
Like the timer that you build up a bar and get a 30-second window and just do a bunch of stuff. That's just a lot like Dragoon to me.
Have they designed it specifically right at the back of the start of podcast, we were talking about the consolidation of the changed actions into one button. Have they designed Viper specifically to kind of interact with that new change
like
as
that.
well?
Seems
Consolidate
like
your buttons, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I tend to find personally with like Sage, for example, the newer jobs are from the ground up designed around the current way the game works.
Yep.
Whereas obviously the older jobs have kind of been reworked and I wouldn't say shoehorned into how it currently works, but they've had to develop into it. So I'm really hoping that Viper just plays really fluidly because it's new and because they've designed it with the game now in mind. I mean, case in point, the consolidation of the buttons thing.
Yeah.
I
No,
feel
it does
really
seem
cool
like
from. It's very flashy. Again,
Yeah.
very
Very
flashy. Going to struggle with full animations on
Yeah,
potentially.
it was
but
very
also-
bright whenever he went into the hyper mode, the
Yeah.
blue enshroud, as people call it, the Reaper Reaper copy move, where everything just flashed in bright blue flames, and he was dashing 55 times across the screen. Like it's very, very flashy. Definitely appeals to a fantasy.
That was definitely my impression. Very fast paced, very flashy. So if you're looking for a kind of melee job that feels quick and fast, I guess you're getting that kind of monk ninja experience, but with two long swords.
Yeah.
in terms of being very
It shares gear too with Ninja, right?
With Ninja. Yeah.
Finally
So,
have another scouting job.
yeah.
So I will
It
probably
should
play
fill
it.
a similar role, which it seemed to do because it has a damage taken increase buff that it puts on monsters. So it'll probably fill that niche a little bit. But exact what it outputs remains to be seen. But definitely in that same vibe.
And if anyone didn't pick up on it, I know a lot of people have. It is basically Zidane's weapon from Final Fantasy IX, so it's another nod to Dawn Trail, very much being the Final Fantasy IX themed expansion. There's going to be a lot of FF9 themes running through it, from what we can see so far. There's already been a handful of references to it. We've got the Zidane minion, and we've got Zidane's weapon now, and I think we got Garnet's minion as well. So yeah, there's I'm sure we'll.
Fair, I love Viper. I think my dual sword classes in games are always my favorites. Even if they suck, I just play them.
It is very cool, and I'm. You mean dual swords, like in two separate swords, or the long?
Just two separate, just standing around, idling in a city, holding two swords. That's cool.
Oh, I'm all for the twin blade. Fucking the twin blade is so cool. I wish we had more of the twin blade and less of the two swords, but obviously we have to have a little bit of both with the way it works right now.
One of my
I just really like the Darth Maul power fantasy.
Exactly. Well, one of my predictions or hopes when we were still waiting to find out what new jobs were going to be is I thought that we would have a job with a staff, not a staff, a bow. So because they were teasing the whole Ninja Turtles thing, and I thought, they're going to go for kind of Donatello's bow, and we'll have
like a
long
pole arm,
like a long pole weapon.
Big stick.
It's called a bow, as in BO.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a fighting stick. A fighting stick.
Not bow as in bow and arrow, but bow as in a fighting stick. Yeah. So that's what I thought we were going to get. I guess we kind of got that a bit with Viper, so 50%. Cool. So on conscious of time, but we've had a good thorough discussion. Is there any other jobs that we haven't talked about that anyone wants to mention before we kind of go into final thoughts? Yeah.
I'll do a double whammy and mention specifically Red Mage and Machinist at the same time, because they are both getting basically the same fix to them. That being that they both have gauges that they have to build up to then go in to do their cool actions. Red Mage having their melee combo, Machinist having their hyper mode, whatever it's called, overheat. Can't remember what it's called. Where you go into you fire very, very fast for a few seconds. Both of those jobs currently have a button you press that just give you 50 gauge, which becomes awkward when your max gauge is 100. So it leads to some fiddling around to make sure you don't overcap and waste gauge. But both of those actions will be changed to just give you the option to go into the hyper mode without giving you the gauge. So it'll just let you do a free melee combo without requiring any mana, or it will let you activate whatever the heat blast mode on Machinist is called without having to pay the 50 gauge on that, which is a very, very, very neat change. It won't change how you play it, but it'll make it more just nice to play. It'll cut out a lot of annoying micromanagement, make it a lot more fun in dungeons where you don't have to pool up a bunch of resources. Plus, all the Machinist actions just look so fucking cool. We're one step closer to just Mecha Gundam power mode. Laser blasters coming out of every orifice. You got this little turret drone that just fired 55 missiles into the enemy. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, that was very flashy. That new skill at the end. I don't know what it's called, but the mech that just turns up and fires out a rain of homing missiles. Is really cool.
Yeah, mega turret.
Yeah, exactly. And the very last thing, Bard's songs no longer being single target damaging moves, but instead being just free to cast, which will completely let you keep your song momentum flowing, because Bard has a very particular timing on when they want to switch to the next song. But when bosses have downtime, when they become untargetable, you can't switch song. So that will lead to a lot of weird drifts with your songs, where you would just completely sit there for 30 seconds. You wouldn't build up any gauge, because that happens as you play a song, and then the boss would come back. Everyone else would get to do their cool burst, and you as a bard would just be like, okay, I guess I'll start singing again, and then I could do damage in 30 seconds. So that's a really, really nice quality of life change as well.
Yeah, I think lore accurately, the bard should be able to do an extra song in between the fight to give everybody more gauge, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was the last one I wanted to mention.
I have one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Super quick. I don't think we mentioned it. Swift cast, 40-second cooldown, reduced from 60 seconds. More raising, or at least less hard cast raising.
More movement.
Sage actually uses it to optimize damage as well, right?
Well, but I mean, you can just you can throw it out there for damage. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just glad that it can just be a bit annoying if you need to raise another person.
40-second swift cast is very rare.
It's nice. I think that's in the 90s range that they're doing it, so it won't be for lower level content. But
and Scholar getting magical girl transformation. Fairy wings. A new dress and fairy wings is gonna look great on my Highlander.
We'll look forward to seeing the screenshots, mate. Cool. But yeah, so overall thoughts on what obviously we haven't seen all the job actions for all the jobs, but just from what we've seen, overall feelings positive, acceptable, nah.
Acceptable.
Yeah,
it's nothing too surprising, but it's fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. It all looks very cool, and it's probably going to be fine. Yeah. Don't be a doomer. It's probably gonna be fine. No matter how bad you think it currently is, if you think it's bad.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think they've played it safe. They've made some, mostly changes I think people will welcome, but they haven't reinvented the jobs too much, so that the thing that you enjoyed about the job, you probably will still enjoy the job, but now you have a few less annoyances and hopefully a few more bells and whistles. But I agree. I think it's going to be fine.
Yep.
And do you think, based on previous experience, Media Tour is going on at the moment, I believe. At the end of the Media Tour, if I remember in the past, you do get to see sometimes some footage from content creators that can sometimes show off a bit more of the changes, the actual actions in-game footage.
Yeah.
Are we expecting to see that?
We'll get full tool tips and everything as soon as the Media Tour ends, because right now media people are allowed to play the game currently, but there's an embargo on information. That lifts as soon as the Media Tour is over, which is going to be end of the month sometime. I don't know if you have an exact date. And as soon as that lifts, we will just get all the actual factual tool tips and skill info and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be the final end result before patch goes live, because still there's another month left.
Potencies in particular, they often...
Yeah, exactly. That might still be changing, but we'll get at least the general job actions.
30th apparently ends on the 30th of May, so we should presumably start seeing stuff after that.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Can't wait. Hennek, I know you mentioned earlier that outside of the specific job changes, I think you said you had a couple of thoughts or views that you wanted to share about other stuff that we saw in the live letter, or have you covered it all? possible you've covered it all.
Yes, no. I think the specifically just the changes that for like mitigations and stuff like that.
Right.
It is because in a lot of fights in the current raid tier, there were windows where if you pressed reprisal very, very, very close to the end of the cast bar, it would cover both the raid wide and then the subsequent tank buster that followed it.
Right.
So I think by just stretching it to 15 seconds, they'll just make that easier to do.
A bit more comfortable to do. Yeah.
It'll just make it not be so precise, and it'll make it.
Yeah.
You can, but you'll have the same issue. Then you'll find a new window that you can nearly spit it into.
Yeah. Maybe you'll be able to squeeze it in even later. Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff, guys. So yeah, I think pretty thorough discussion there. It's good to hear everyone's thoughts and hopes and expectations. And yeah, more information. Obviously, we're working on the limited info we have, but there'll be more info to come, like we've talked about. We'll certainly do another Alith-Cast before Dawn Trail launches, and we'll do like a pre-Dawn Trail launch cast, and we'll probably give some more opinions on the info that's been shared. But I think we're going to move on to some Alith news. So. Let's flip open the slide. So, for all our Alithian viewers, which is probably 99.9% of our viewers, we've got some just general updates and news regarding the Freak Company. For those who aren't in the FC, quick cheeky plug. You're welcome to join our community. We're pretty awesome. Our members are pretty awesome. We have a lot of fun. I know that we're one of the most active FCs on Cerberus. So, yeah, head over to alithff14.com. You can get a link to our Discord from there. You can apply to join, and yeah, everyone is welcome. Come and join the excitement. In terms of FC news, so let's start off. So the first one, I think everyone will be aware of this, but we've introduced, well, we didn't introduce, but Discord have introduced polls to Discord servers. So we activated that on our server. It just means that you don't need to use a bot to put a poll up now. If you want, you can just click the little plus icon in your chat prompt in Discord, and it will give you an option to create a poll. So yeah, people who want to organize events and maybe want to check out, gauge people's interest for events, you can use that to make polls like that. Or if you just want to have fun and make fun polls, which we've had a few of, you can do that as well. So yeah, feel free to take advantage of those. And then we've got a bunch of some recent news around staff changes. So let's start off with some recent promotions that we've had. So again, most of our members will be aware of this, but congratulations to Alith who recently joined our event leading team. So great to have them on board. He's been super active and super present ever since he joined us only a couple of months ago. So great to have Alith in the event leading team. We also brought in some new recruiters recently. So Rin Kaguya joined us, already hit the ground running and helping us with recruitment. And Fernie Mir as well joined our recruitment team recently. Both are doing a brilliant job, and I'll save the thank yous for the end. I've got lots of thank yous to give out to lots of various people. But yeah, congratulations to those who've recently joined our staff teams. Very much appreciated. We always appreciate and we're grateful for members giving up their time to help us build our community and keep improving it. So it's pretty awesome to have those guys on board. In terms of a quick update on recruitment status and updates, and then I'm going to hand over to Hennek for some event status and updates. So from a recruitment perspective, it's very healthy at the moment. We have a full active recruitment team who are doing a brilliant job. So we recruit through various means. The main method is in-game, through in-game adverts, and our recruiters do a pretty awesome job at getting our name out there, making people aware of Alith, and looking to attract new like-minded members to join our community. And over the recent couple of weeks, the performance has been brilliant. Like, we've welcomed lots of really cool new members to our FC who have fitted in brilliantly, have settled in really well. And as we build up to Dawn Trail, we're expecting to see old players come back to the game, old members come back to the game. We've actually got a list of, I think last time I checked, we've got like 20 to 25 people on there of Alith members who are on a break but have said that they're planning to come back for Dawn Trail. So we know that when Dawn Trail hits, our activity is going to skyrocket, as it always does during expansions. But Yeah, the last point I want to make on recruitment is just a reminder about our strategy, because the question comes up every now and then, and I often have to give a reminder. Our recruitment strategy is not to just invite every single person immediately, instantly, as quickly as we can, and flood the FC with new members. That's not what we do. We've never done that, and we don't do that. We obviously handpick our members carefully. We have an application process, so anyone who wants to join Alith has to apply to join us, where we ask them to tell us a bit about their personality, their interests, their etc., so that we can make sure that the people who join us are actually, good, respectful, like-minded people like us who just want to have fun in a friendly, respectful environment. And that's why we have such an awesome community. A big part of it is because we do carefully select the members who join us. We don't do Zerg recruitment where we just invite anyone who wants to apply. So it is a kind of quality over quantity approach. We will always take that approach. It doesn't mean that we're not going to see bursts of recruitment where we get a flood of new members come in. Don't panic and don't worry is what I'd say. We do monitor our recruitment numbers quite often, and if we ever need to take a break on recruitment, we do, and we have done in the past. So there may be times where we decide, okay, we're just going to take a break on recruitment for a week or two, let the new members settle in. So we do monitor the frequency of applications that come in, but at the moment it's very healthy, it's very steady. We're not getting floods and floods of members, but we're getting a good steady trickle of new members joining, and most importantly, they are great people who fit our community really well. So all I'm saying is, we don't do this blindly. We're very careful about how we recruit and the pace that we recruit and the quality of members that we bring in. So just trust your officers and your recruiters. We're gonna keep the FC active, filled with active members who are chatting, socializing, playing. That's why we need to have recruitment, because unfortunately people do decide to move on to other games and stop playing FF14, and we want to make sure that we keep the active member number up there. So that's a quick update on recruitment. It's going well, is the short version. It's going very well indeed. So I'm going to hand over to Hennek, because there's going to be a bit of deja vu here, because things are going very well on the events front. But yeah, Hennek, do you want to share a few updates on what people can look forward to and what's going on event-wise?
For sure. Like you mentioned, Aliyah stepped up to join as event leader. I don't know, feels like months ago, but it was probably just a few weeks. It was a running theme on the last Alith Awards. Was it a record? I think it was a record for like most nominations for Dungeon Hopper. From having joined the FC only like a few weeks ago.
40-something nominations, I think it was.
Yeah. So Aliyah hard at work, both joining and participating and hosting events. And on that note, we do have a steady schedule of various mount farms and recurring events every week on several days of the week. So by all means, check in there, both current current Extreme Trials and previous from older expansions. Running theme from both Aliyah and Grat coming back every single week on regularly scheduled days and times. We also have Grat's screenshot events, just like I saw on TV, ending on Thursday. Definitely make sure you go in there. Maybe you can even beat Sankua and company's Ninja Turtle screenshot from the Kugane sewers. Unlikely, but you can try. Ellie posted a hydration awareness map event recently for next weekend. Ellie. Very important now that it's actually getting exactly. Very important now that it's getting warm outside.
There's no gin.
Very
important. Gin in there. Don't worry.
No. Oh. And this is probably the thickest event. No, actually, I'll save that one because Bell is also. Make sure we mention Bell. The reoccurring Unreal Reclear events every weekend. Very nice to slide on in there, grab 2 quick kills. And I have been asked on a few different avenues right now from people that have said, I kind of want to join, but I've not got the experience. So it may be time to set up a last-second learning event for it, just to make sure a couple of extra people can slide on in there and grab their reclears before it rotates away for Dawn Trail. And yes, then the absolute sickest event that I've seen in the event upcoming events list, an Ultima weapon. What's it called? The Weapons Refrain Ultimate practice session. absolute magic weed mad lad behavior. It's already very, very, very heavily signed up to, and I hope more people sign up. Even though there's going to be not enough people to fill in one party, if enough people sign up, maybe we'll even be able to fill in 2 parties, or maybe even 3, because right now it's loaded, and it's going to be insane. It's so cool. Ultimates are super fast-paced, super hard content, but it's completely pressure-free, obviously, just for fun, just for learning. We're not even going to get close to clearing it. These fights last for 15 minutes and require peak performance for a long period of time. So it's just going to be for fun. Don't worry if you don't feel comfortable. Don't worry if you don't think you're perfect or like a god gamer. Just sign up, show up, and get a taste for what some of the hardest content in this game actually feels like playing, and just have fun for 2 hours. That's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Oh, no, go. Yeah. The big one that is not actually on the calendar, but I have been asked to kind of prime it, because we are hitting the end of an expansion in just over 6 weeks, I think. There are some rumblings in the event leader community about an end to Endwalker. I don't think they had end of Endwalker, end to Endwalker, farewell Endwalker, something along those lines, like a large scale event, or maybe even a collection of events, where we finalize the Endwalker expansion, we say goodbye, and we prepare ourselves for moving on into Dawn Trail with some combination of cool events, or, obviously just for fun, but it's gonna come up soon. I haven't been given an exact date, but probably close to before the event or the expansion actually ends. So do keep an eye out for that and sign up. Make sure you say farewell properly to what is probably the second best expansion, if we're going to be controversial.
Agreed.
Let's not open that particular can of worms, but
maybe we can play Endwalker there, like End Space Walker.
Yeah,
it's a fun day format that I ran a few times.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's make sure to pop that in, because I know they are looking for activities to add to the roster.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, definitely keep your eyes out for when that becomes a thing. Should be coming up in the near future. And we added, as you may have probably seen, because it is being frequently used, the event alert channel. Just a separate channel that lets event leaders post announcements that are pertaining to specific events in a dedicated channel, so it doesn't get clogged up by Members Lounge, or that it doesn't get drowned in Members Lounge messages. Whether it be, hey guys, we are missing a few members, can somebody step in and join, or reminders for specific events, or something of the like. So keep an eye on the event alert channel. Just make sure you guys are getting all the notifications there. And that's about it for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our events are in really good shape. The event calendar is always packed with a good variety of events. Most of them are kind of casual, beginner-friendly. There's a few experienced ones in there, but the majority of them are very accessible by everyone. So, yeah, the event leaders are doing a fantastic job at coming up with and hosting great events of all sorts. And so, yeah, just thanks to the guys for that. And, yeah, I'll come to the thank yous in a bit.
And the members themselves, to be fair. Members are also posting great events. You don't have to be an event leader to post any event.
Agreed.
But you should become an event leader if you want to post event.
Yeah.
Get the official tag.
It's fantastic to see so many events being organized by event leaders and members alike, and new people joining the FC, being met with this long list of events that they can join and take part in is a great kind of introduction to the FC, and a good way to get to meet and get to know some of the Alith members. So yeah, the guys are doing a great job. Good. Okay. So on the topic of staff updates, we recently did a bit of a small reshuffle. You might have seen it in the announcement. So we moved a few people around just to help, mainly to help share the load, if you like. But we moved Hennek into the event leading team. Clearly, Hennek, having been an event leader himself for a long time and being very experienced in organizing and running events, he was an obvious natural fit for the gig. So Hennek was happy to step into that, and he's doing a great job with the event leaders. So thanks to Hennek and the team for keeping the events scene alive and bumping. So A nice move there. And with that, we moved Clem into the recruitment team. Clem's always had a great relationship with the recruiters, that they have a lot of banter and a lot of fun in there. And so Clem is supporting them with their recruitment efforts, and he's doing a great job with that. So with all of that said, it was with sadness that we lost a member of the team, Softy, but we once again thank her for all of her contributions while she was in the officer team. She's not going anywhere. She's still very much a solid Alith.
She didn't die.
She hasn't died. She's still with us. And still very much an integral part of our community. She's still a staff member. Softy will be back on Alith-Cast before you know it. We'll be looking forward to having her back on here. So you'll still see and hear plenty from Softy. But yeah, just thank you to Softy for all of her contributions while she was in the officer role. But yeah, it can take its toll in terms of time consumption. So real life stuff always has to come first, and we always respect that. But it does mean, of course, that we do have a opening. So we are planning on recruiting a 7th officer. We like having 7 as a number. It tends to work quite well for the officer team because it's not too big a team that doesn't feel like a team, but it's not too small that we struggle with cover, etc. 7 generally seems to be the sweet spot. Also, it's an odd number, which helps when we're having to decide on things. Sometimes if we if we're split on a decision of some sort, having an odd number does help reach majorities and things. So yeah, 7 is our kind of sweet spot. So if you are interested in doing more for the FC, if you're passionate about Alith and you've loved the experience that you've had here, we are going to be opening up that vacancy. One thing that we are going to say that we've not done previously is we are going to make it apparent of what we're hoping our new officer will be able to bring to the team. So specifically, we want our new officer to be quite heavily involved and potentially lead our member engagement activities. So when we talk about member engagement, we're talking about things like our community catch-ups, activity that helps keep our members happy, enjoying their experience at Alith, engaged. So we are looking for somebody who's quite social, who's quite close to the community, who's got their finger on the pulse in terms of member engagement and feeling, and somebody who can work quite closely with me in terms of organising those community catch-ups and keeping some good, healthy dialogue between the officer team and our members. We want to keep that happening frequently. So we want somebody who feels like they can, that's kind of up their street and lends itself to your interest and your passion, and also potentially support with the Alith Awards activity as well, because of course Alith Awards is very much for our members. So again, in that spirit of, we want a very community orientated officer, somebody who can help with on both of those fronts. That will be ideal. So at least you've got something to work with there in terms of thinking about if you want to step into the officer role at this time. That's kind of what we're looking for. So yeah, looking forward to seeing who applies. Just keep an eye on the announcements section. We'll be popping the advert in there shortly. Cool. Let's have a look. Right, so before we go into the thank yous, the one final thing I want to do is I want to just give a shout out to our recent Alith Award winners. We had a staggering amount of nominations this time around. I'm sure it was 700-800 nominations, something ridiculous like that. But just to give a shout out to our winners, so our current reigning FC champion is Myth, or Nathaniel Marr. So congrats to him. He's been a solid member of the community for a long time, and he's an excellent recruiter, and yeah, a great laugh, a good sense of humor, and he's been an integral part of our community for a long time. So congrats to Myth, who is a worthy winner this time around. And our newcomer award, no surprise, went to Elia Torin. Like Hennek was saying, extremely active from day one, and it feels like he's been with us years, but he's only been with us a couple of months. So the worthy winner for Elia. And then our above and beyond winners were Hanasaur, Grat, Zanqua, Sail, Elia again, Elaine, Sayora, Raylath, and Shara were all our above and beyond winners. All worthy winners, and congrats. And our party animal winners were Kata, Alala, Shara, Iris, and Doubtful. So congrats to all of you. And finally, our dungeon hoppers, helping out with content, etc., running in-game activity. There's Aliyah, Orinia, Hanasaur, Yelena, and Olsenok. So congratulations to all of our worthy winners. But also, just thank you to all of our members, because again, there were hundreds and hundreds of nominations for loads of different members, and whether you win or not an award is kind of besides the point. You know, Alith is a community, and everyone contributes in different ways. So just thank you to everyone for helping keep our community awesome. And on the topic of thank yous, I do want to thank our staff teams as well. So again, thanks to our event leaders who give up a lot of their time to organize and run events. It is time consuming, it does take a lot of energy, and they don't, you know, they do it purely out of the kindness of their hearts to create some fun for our members. So we thank them. We thank our recruiters who equally give up a lot of their time and quite frankly have to put up with some abuse sometimes out there in the wild in terms of trolls and less than friendly people. So our recruiters are very resilient, very patient, very professional people, and they have to deal with some tough environments, and but they do it so that they can find and attract some really awesome people to join our FC, which they've been doing a phenomenal job with. So yeah, big thank you to our recruiters for doing that. Our social media guys are doing a great job. So Alala and Lucy, working alongside Sierra, they've been doing a cracking job with our social media activity. It's very much alive, which it hadn't been for years. So a big thank you to them for the time that they're giving up to do that. And of course, our officers, which again, they do a lot of work behind the scenes that isn't always obvious to the members. And but I can tell you that all of our officers spend a significant chunk of their personal downtime helping to run the FC, keeping it running smoothly, keeping it running peacefully and harmonious, and keeping it fun. And yeah, we're always juggling lots of different changes, challenges, initiatives, ideas. There's always stuff going on within the officer team, and our community catch-ups are really there so we can share a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes in a bit more detail and say, here are some of the stuff that we're working on, what do you guys think, get our members input and ideas and suggestions and feedback. So when the next one comes up, please do come to those community catch-ups, because yeah, we try and make sure that your guys' feedback steers us and points us in the right direction, because ultimately, you know, we're doing what we do to keep our members happy and to make it an environment that everyone enjoys being in. So yeah, thanks once again to all of our members. Keep being awesome. Like I say, without our members, we don't have an FC. Without our members, we don't have an Alith. Alith has always been the members, and so all of the staff guys never forget that. And to be honest, we all feel like we're just all part of one team, regardless of what role you are. So yeah, let's just keep doing that. And Dawn Trail is going to be a blast. And I've booked some time off for Dawn Trail, and I'm looking forward to doing some hard marathons during the early access week. But yeah, any final thoughts, guys, from any of you? So I can stop droning on.
Thanks everybody. It's been fun to be on the cast again. It took a lot longer than I thought it would. I was like, oh, we're gonna get through this pretty quickly, but nope.
I knew it was gonna be a meaty one. I had a feeling.
I have probably another 90 minutes left in me to talk about job changes, so if you want to keep going.
I'm good.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
I think we were pretty comprehensive, at least in terms of getting a broad spread of stuff.
Yeah.
I looked through the list and I was like, pretty sure we covered this.
Yeah, I think we did a good job in the limited time that we had. Thanks to all the guys in the chat. Thanks to the guys who joined us live and had lots of interaction. Always good to have you guys with us live, so that's awesome. And yeah, thanks to you three for giving up your Sunday evenings to come and chit-chat about FF14 with our members, and we'll be doing it again, I'm sure, in the not-too-distant future.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Maybe in 2 weeks when we have the actual tooltips, we'll do this all over again, but this time we'll actually know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone. Listen, have a great week next week, and we will see you guys again soon. Thanks again.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.